شەف باش خودش ترازی به سرچاوا سرسرا. First of all, the tragedy in Syria, the only person responsible for tragedy is Assad himself, because he failed to respond to opposition demands. He failed to reach out to his own people, and sadly that tragedy has been very costly. But I think we should focus on immediate issues, and the immediate task for the world is to give peace a chance. And to do that, we need to get the temporary ceasefire that exists today to become more permanent in Syria, and hopefully Astana summit can achieve that. So right now, I think if we discuss individuals and other issues, we still risk the plight of people on the ground. So we want to look forward, and we know that the atrocities, the problems, squarely, the blame lies on Assad regime. But let's look ahead, and let's make sure that the ceasefire is converted to a permanent arrangement, and let's hope that we can move to more settlement, and hopefully we can rebuild not only Syria, Iraq and Libya and all other countries. The region needs peace and needs stability and needs prosperity. Well, we believe that territorial integrity of countries in our region is absolutely essential. The reason why we're saying that is because if you begin to divide countries along ethnic and sectarian lines, there is no limit to it. And that could also cause perpetual conflict in the region. I always argue that, look at European Union. After the Second World War, where millions of people lost their lives, when cities were destroyed, countries were destroyed, what happened? They created a union of 500 million people and 28 nations as of today, hundreds of ethnic groups and different religious sects. But they created a region of prosperity, peace and stability. And they coexist. There is rule of law, there is democracy, fundamental rights and freedoms. Everybody is equal first-class citizens. This is what we want to do in Turkey. That's why we tried so hard. We invested so much political capital in the reconciliation process to solve Kurdish problem in Turkey. Because we can't separate Kurds and Turks and Arabs. I mean, let's face it. I said it today on the panel. The biggest Kurdish city, population-wise, is probably Istanbul. I'm a Kurd. My wife is a Turk. My children, we live in Ankara. So we can't separate this. So what I'm saying is that we need to find a better model to coexist and thrive in stability, in peace, and hopefully make our region more prosperous. Well, after the Second World War, if you could think of, there was a solution to European problems, there is a solution to Middle Eastern problems. We just need courage, we need leadership, and we need to work together. It's no good, everyone trying to pull and push some other directions. It hurts everybody. It's costly for everybody. And the biggest cost is human loss, displaced millions of people, and destroyed dreams. We need to put an end to this tragedy. And yes, of course there is a solution. But the solution comes with acceptance and respect and equal, citizenship. So whether it is Syria, whether it's elsewhere, we really need to have a genuine effort for an inclusive society, to embrace our differences. Like in Turkey, for example, our differences are not a threat. Our differences are source of richness. And we really would like to address our own problems through more democracy, more fundamental rights and freedoms, and better standards of living. Well, we're open to that. Turkey is a big energy consumer, but also is a major transit hub. So we certainly would welcome, as long as we could get all the players on board, to have such a pipe. We already have an oil pipeline. A natural gas pipeline would make a lot of sense. We need to use energy for the well-being of the region, and of course for development. And Turkey, as I said, is already a major hub because we have pipelines from Iran, pipelines from now we have TANAP from Azerbaijan, Baku Ceyhan oil pipelines from Russia. So all over the place, certainly would welcome that. Well, we would like to deepen relationship with our Kurdish brothers in Iraq and with Iraq as well. So we're trying to improve relations with central government and we want to help Iraq combat Daesh. And we're there. We are dependable partner. We are reliable partner. Same with Iraqi Kurdistan. We want to help. We want to be part of the success story. We want you to succeed. We want you to be in peace and prosperity. So agreements, on all, culture, education, investments, others. I mean, of course, I wasn't there, but the idea is we want to deepen trade, investments, and all sorts of other, cultural interaction, relationship with Iraq in general, and also with Iraqi Kurdistan. We hope so. Because on a couple of issues we have had disagreements, and we're hoping that Trump administration will listen more and try to have some better understanding, try to understand Turkey's concerns, and I think that way we can move forward. We really want a stable, prosperous and peaceful region. It's in our interest. You see, lack of functioning state in Syria caused much of damage to Turkey. So I'm not talking about over 3 million refugees. I'm actually talking about terror and others. But there's a lot to be worked out, and we're hopeful that we'll have a new start with new administration. We have no quarrel with Kurds, never ever. How could we? We're brothers. But of course we cannot tolerate terror. And unfortunately, PKK, has been very active. They use Syria or parts of Iraq to stage attacks on Turkey, and that's not acceptable. So I think we need to make a huge, there's a huge difference between, Kurdish issue and PKK issue. PKK is an issue of a terror, nothing to do with Kurdish rights, Kurdish aspirations. Because if you look at last few years, last decade in Turkey, we've expanded Kurdish rights, we've enhanced standards of democracy, we boosted fundamental rights and freedoms, we invested heavily in Turkey's southeast, and I worked so hard for that. But what did we get in return? PKK exploited and intensified its terrorist activities. Now that is not acceptable. So, and we know that PKK and PYD are kind of sort of linked. So clearly we mean no harm to our Kurdish brothers. We can't even think about it. Exactly the opposite. We want to help and we want to be there for them. But terror is not acceptable. And I think that is very clear, and we need to make sure that that's the case.
Thank you very much.